So I'm here with my friend Tom Morris, who is somebody who definitely has a point of view about how to deal with change. And we've been talking about the changes that are impacting bankers, both individually in their families and in their communities, but in their professional lives. And the thing I'm interested in is the perspective that Tom has on how to deal with this transformative change. So Tom, I welcome you here. I'm a big fan. You've written many books. I can see one in the background that is one of the ones that I'm very excited about. It's your most recent one, Plato's Lemonade Stand.
That's right. That's right.
So how would you address somebody, a banker who's trying to deal with this changing environment? What advice would you give them?
Well, you mentioned the book Plato's Lemonade Stand. As a kid, I grew up hearing people say, when life hands you lemons, make lemonade. I must have heard that, 200 times as a kid.
Yeah.
Nobody ever said how. And so as an adult philosopher, I remember in 2004, a bank I had done a number of talks for was being bought by a larger institution. And they told me everybody was worried about their jobs. Like it was going to be a major disruptive change. And I had given 3 or 4 talks for this bank, and somebody called me and said, look, have you ever given a presentation on how to deal with difficult disruptive change? And I said, no, I never have. Well, could you put something together? I said, okay, I will. And so 3 months later, 2 months later, maybe, I gave a talk called The Art of Change. And the room of 750 top executives at this bank, the room just erupted with applause and cheers. It was like we were at a rock concert. And I thought, wow, I must have discovered the right ideas for these folks. And one of the executives came up to me afterwards and said, before I became a banker, I was an Olympic swimmer. And she said, you said in 45 minutes what my coach tried to say for 15 years and was never quite able to articulate. Thank you for this today. And so that talk, then all of a sudden everybody wanted me to speak on that topic. And I realized, wait a minute. The old saying, when life hands you lemons, make lemonade. I'm coming up with the answer of how to do it. And so the book came out. I wrote the book for 15 years. I wrote 25 versions of the book. It had 5 different titles, 4 agents. It just went through this long. I mean, talk about change, dealing with change. I had to live the advice of the book. And whenever you're confronted with something you don't see coming, especially a great disruptive change, the most important piece of advice, I call it the art of self-control. The philosophers had 3 rules for dealing with any new situation you didn't see coming. They say, first of all, don't rush to judgment. Secondly, value the right things. And thirdly, use your imagination well. Let's look at that just for a second. Don't rush to judgment. Don't say to yourself too quickly, oh, this is horrible, this is awful, this is terrible, or this is great, this is wonderful. This is either irrational exuberance or unnecessarily despondency can block our creative thinking. And the philosophers, the Stoics especially, a bunch of Roman philosophers, Epictetus, Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, they said with one voice, hardly anything that happens in this world is as good as it seems or as bad as it seems, so we should all just calm down. So I urge people, when confronted with change or chaos or uncertainty, first of all, just calm down. You don't know what the truth is about this yet. This could be the most revolutionary period of time we ever lived through in a positive direction. We may have more opportunities for wonderful transformations that have long needed to be made than we ever would have confronted without what we're going through right now. You wouldn't wish this situation on anyone, but given that it's here, we may be able to do extraordinary things. So don't rush to judgment. Number 2, value the right things, not just comfort and security and safety. Those are all good, but value growth and learning. Life is about creativity. Life is about growth and learning. I wrote a book called If Aristotle Ran General Motors. I have a chapter on the meaning of life. I think the meaning of life is creative love or loving creativity. We're here to make a creative difference in the world. And sometimes confronted with chaos and uncertainty, well, a character in one of my novels said, consider the possibility that uncertainty is a gift. And I think when you dig down into what uncertainty can mean for us, it's not a scary thing. It's really an opportunity, an open field of possibilities. So yeah, if I can help people look at this time we're going through now as a time rife and rich with possibilities, that'll make a difference. So don't rush to judgment, value the right things. Number 3, use your imagination well. Our imagination is an amazing thing. It kicks into gear anytime something unexpected happens, good or bad. We need to take control of it. because when we take control of it, it can be one of the most powerful tools we have for seeing our way forward. You're in the darkness, well, the imagination is a light to shine into the darkness if you use it well. That's what I call the art of self-control. When the lemons roll into your life by the truckload, don't rush to judgment, value the right things, use your imagination well.
I think that's a great answer, Tom. So how would you coach somebody whose imagination maybe hasn't been as fertile? I mean, when you're in the middle of a very uncertain, chaotic time, how do you get your imagination in gear?
I think through, first of all, collaborative conversations. We're going to have more opportunities for creative collaboration than we've ever had before. This is odd, isn't it? Because we're more separated from each other physically, but we're connecting more over the phone and over Zoom and over the internet, just like this. I think creativity always bubbles out of interpersonal collaboration. All of human history is filled with that. Every big creative period in human history has been a bunch of people collaborating, thinking with each other. Now, how do you make a good contribution to a collaboration? I advise people on the old practice of brainstorming. You know, I get out paper all the time, and even in this digital age, I'll get out a blank sheet of paper and I'll start writing down, here are my challenges on the left-hand side, here are the possibilities on the right-hand side. And sometimes it takes a page or two just to jumpstart the imagination, just to jumpstart my thinking, because we tend to have habits of thought. We tend to have ruts. The things that have worked in the past, we deeply assume will work now and in the future. But when times are changing, we need to change with those times. And sometimes we need to even get ahead of the next changes on the way. And the only way to do that is to break out of the inertia. The second strongest natural power in human life is the power of habit. Good thing the imagination could be the strongest power in human life. So if you use your imagination well, by yourself in your room with some blank paper or with other people, you can find breakthrough solutions. Now, sometimes it's not when we're thinking about it, but later on when you're taking a jog, when you're doing some exercise, when you're in the bath, when you're waking up in the morning, first thing, whenever you've shed the anxiety that often inhibits our creativity. That's why all these great scientific discoveries were often made while a guy was riding his bicycle, while somebody was on a bus, while somebody was shaving in the morning. He wasn't yet stressed out by the day. And so the unconscious was able to bubble forth. So you're planting the seeds as you're writing on your blank piece of paper or you're having these conversations, but it could be later on when you're just calm and relaxed that all of a sudden, oh, I never thought of that before. I think we're living in a time where a well-known psychologist said to me a few days ago, he said, I can't wait for 6 months from now. I think we're going to look back on this 6-month period moving forward as one of the most creative times in modern history. I think he may be right.
I think he may well be right. It is interesting if you take the role of the banker, who oftentimes is the advisor on financial matters, and what you're suggesting that a banker might do, he probably ought to help his customers do. If he can help the customer not freak out, if he can help the customer begin to think through some of the issues, maybe in a calmer way, and then begin to think about what the implications are. And I think if a banker, as an example, has some insights into what the problem resolution might be, that's great. But if he can draw out the individual that he's trying to help, it may even be more powerful.
That's right. It's like we're in a time now where bankers can become powerful coaches to their customers, to their clients. I mean, it's Stephen Covey once told me this. We did a weekend retreat together for 50 CEOs of publicly traded companies. And he said to me afterwards, he wrote me, he said, you know, as soon as I got home, I called together all my family members and taught them the ideas that you had spoken about during the weekend. He said, because I believe that we really understand something well only when we've taught it to others. And that applies to the art of self-control. It's important that for a banker to exercise the art of self-control. But it's even more important sometimes to teach the art of self-control, because then that comes back and helps you do it even better. So that's just the beginning of my book, Plato's Lemonade Stand. The art of self-control, the art of positive action, and the art of achievement are the three arts I think can be transformative in times of uncertainty, in times of the unknown, in times of really difficult challenge, where a lot of the old certainties have fallen away and we just don't know how to navigate forward. The philosophers have given us this wisdom, well, that stood the test of time. These are ideas that have been around 2,500 years or sometimes more, in good times and in bad times. So if I can if I can bring to people ideas I know have always worked, they're going to work now too. Human nature never really changes. It's just the kaleidoscope of the world gives us new patterns all the time. But the philosophers saw that coming. They knew it happening in their own times. And so they've given us this wisdom we can use in ours.
Well, one of the gifts that you're making available to anybody who has any ability to connect with Amazon is access to your most recent work, Plato's Lemonade Stand. Explain a little bit about how somebody might be able to order Plato's Lemonade Stand online or the actual hard copy.
Oh yeah, well the book is out in hardcover, $32, I think, in paperback $18, and the Kindle was $10, $9.99, and it just occurred to me a few days ago. I was able to wrangle Amazon down to let it be offered for $2.99 for at least a week or two, because these are the times that people really need these ideas. And if people start reading the book and say, "Oh, I need a hard copy of this," they can get that. Now, Amazon's a little slower than they usually are because they're prioritizing essential household items, as they say. But ebooks can be downloaded instantly, and you can start looking at the ideas and applying the ideas and sharing them with other people right away. So I'm hoping that dropping the price on that book. The book just came out in January, and people are saying, "What, are you, a genius that you knew we were going to need this book now?" I said, "No, not at all. I'd worked on it for 15 years. I had wanted to get it published, back in the recession in 2008, but the book was not ready. It just happened to be ready in October, and I said, okay, let's do a quick publication." I didn't know why. So it's been out since early January, and early readers are telling me, "Well, this has changed my perspective on everything. Thank you so much." So if we can share that book with people, and if people go to tomvmorris.com, my website, write me what you think about this. Shoot me an email. I get emails every day from readers of the book that are helping me understand the ideas even more deeply myself and their application in people's lives right now.